Before we move on to talk about various methods used in language teaching or English language teaching, it's important to distinguish between a method, technique, procedures, and designs. Let's begin with a method. While describing various methods, the researchers inform us that we must be able to distinguish between a theory which is covering a method or is behind it, and various procedures and principles on which that method is based on. If we look deep into this, we see that it's American applied linguist Edward Anthony and then later on Mackay who provided us some insight into this initially. And they did so in probably in 60s. Approach refers to the theories of language and language learning which are used to develop certain principles and practices of language teaching. And they include how language is used or how language is acquired or the knowledge of language is acquired by the people or its learners. It also includes various conditions under which a language learning may be successful. Let's talk about some popular theoretical views and about language. About the making of language, we have the structural view which remained dominant in linguistic studies for a longer period of time. The structural view believes that language is a system of interrelated or structurally related components. And these components can easily be distinguished and must be learned by the learners in order to get a mastery or command over that language. We have a method, audiolingual method, which is actually based on this structural view of language. Moving next, we have functional view, which believes that language is a vehicle for the expression of functional meanings of a language. And we see that communicative methods of language teachings are based on this functional view. Moving next is the interactional view, which believes that language is a vehicle for the realization of one's interactional needs or social interactions. And we have task-based language teaching method or technique is based on this. We also have theories of language learning, and we have popular views of behaviorist and cognitivist or innatist, and we see they have influenced language learning and the methods of language learning to a large extent, and we'll talk about in the following sections of this module. Moving to design now. Design is the analysis of a method on the basis of the objectives of a method, what objectives a method must follow or aims to follow, and then selection and organization of language content, and information about learning tasks and learning materials. It also includes learning activities, then roles of learners and teachers, and roles of teaching materials within a method. And through this, we could understand what is the actual working of the philosophy of a method in the real sense. Then procedure is the actual moment-to-moment techniques, practices, and behaviors which are used in the actual classroom. And we could see this focuses on how a method realizes its approach and design, as I said earlier, in the real-time classroom. How tasks and activities are integrated to fulfill a certain learning activity or task, or to fulfill certain learning need. Procedure may also be seen as an ordered sequence of activities or techniques. Technique itself is implementational in nature. It could be a trick or contrivance to fulfill a certain learning need or perform a certain activity within the classroom. And techniques must be fixed with or in line with the philosophy of the method. Method, thus, overall is a practical realization of an approach, and it includes actual procedures and techniques which are used to gain a certain learning objective. We can easily see that if methods are based on a certain clear philosophy and they have fixed procedures, they become easy to follow. Otherwise, they become uneasy or difficult to follow in the real-time teaching and learning.